TikTok, time to rock. It's always a pleasure to see my co-hosts here on the Sunday show, all the way from the UK. We have Simon Williams, and all the way from Melbourne, Australia, we have Mr. Brad Cook.
Howdy.
Hey, guys.
How are we? Happy Anzac Day, everyone.
Yeah, happy Anzac Day. All our Australian, New Zealand friends.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Proud patriot. Realise and understand at an early age here in New Zealand the sacrifices that servicemen and women went through to make sure that we can have an opportunity to spend time just like this, to take opportunities that we have like this for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Did your family serve, Andrew?
Absolutely.
Yeah, my dad was in the Navy in the war, and my grandfather was in the war. He won the Military Cross in the Second World War. My mum's dad. So we salute all those who served.
Absolutely, it's a very important day here in Australia and New Zealand, bordering on almost religious. It's an almost religious holiday. So we're pretty lucky here in New Zealand. About 4 or 5 years ago, when Anzac Day fell during the weekend. That was the holiday. It's a public holiday here, Simon, which is like a bank holiday. When Anzac Day falls on a Saturday and Sunday here, we get the Monday off, which is good, the following Monday. So I've got no work tomorrow. Yahoo!
I've got to wait another week for my May bank holiday. Then another 4 weeks for another May bank holiday. And then another. Do you know what? This is funny because I work for the British government. I get the Queen's birthday off.
Fantastic.
Yeah. See?
Fantastic.
You don't realise how posh I actually am.
What about you, Brad? Do you guys get a Do you get a holiday? Do you get a Monday off? Is it a Mondayized holiday?
I'm not sure we get the Monday off, but I'm working regardless. I seem to work every day just about anyway. So, and I pretty much, as you know, I'm always seem to be running from work to get on here, and
my gosh,
always running. But that's all right. I'm grateful for it because at the end of the day, we had to work there I was out of work for a long time. So I'm not complaining. I just, I wish it would calm and have a bit of normality back. But, we'll get there. And I'm grateful, for the Anzacs and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's always a good opportunity to recognise that, isn't it? A proud patriot.
Yep.
Hey, before we get Simon to go through and say g'day to everybody in the chat, and that's an Australian New Zealand slang too, g'day, if you guys don't know that.
Where the bloody hell are you?
Where the bloody hell are you?
Followed always by mate, isn't it?
yeah, g'day mate, how's it going? We want to do a special shout out to a very good mate of ours, and we mentioned it yesterday on the 5150 show. So Warren, we haven't seen you in the chat, bro. We know that you watch the replays, so we really appreciate that. So very dear to the show. We enjoy the humour that you've brought over the months that we've been doing this, with Brad especially, and we wish you well, bro. So stay strong.
Yeah. Definitely. You know our thoughts and our prayers, our warmest thoughts and prayers, mate.
Get well, Warren.
G'day, mate, all the way from Australia.
Up the road. What are we like? Warren, get well soon, mate. I hope it's going all right. we are thinking of you.
Awesome. Do you want to do a shout out, bro?
Okay. I'll do a shout out to the people in the thing. So Nelson Rodriguez, first in. Good morning, Nelson. We've got Mark Tanner. Hi, Mark. We've got Arvin, of course. Good morning, Arvin.
Arvin.
And the Dogper, who's been blasting his ears out with a head rush cab. I don't even know what that is.
I know what that is, and isn't he lucky? That's a rival to the Helix.
Is it? Oh, right, okay, yeah. So, what with the cab? It's got a powered cab, is it? You plug it into? Is that an amp? Yeah, very cool. Apparently, his ears are ringing. So he's obviously been giving it some stick. It's good. So that's who we've got at the moment. So good morning, all. Hope you're all good. It's good to see you. A great show like yesterday, guys, with Kurt.
Yeah. Oh, appreciate it.
As you see,
appreciate
I arrived halfway through. Actually, less than halfway through. But yeah.
No, we appreciate it. We appreciate it, Simon. And I suppose this is probably a good opportunity to remind people that if you have a look on the bottom of the screen, you can see all our social media links. You'll see Brad's Instagram, followed by the Rev Kurt's, and then you'll see Simon's Instagram, and then somewhere behind there I've tagged on Michael Also's Instagram as well. So if you guys...
Say happy birthday for yesterday, Michael.
Yes. Yeah.
Happy birthday. Yeah, happy birthday.
So if you guys subscribe to those social media links in 2 weeks' time on the 5150 show, if you are live in the chat, we'll give you a number and we will draw a number for the winner of the Van Halen t-shirt from the Van Halen store. But you have to be obviously live in the chat to get it. So spread the word, share the channel, guys, and let's try and get 50 people. Let's try and get 50 people into that live show. That would be awesome if we could do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So I'm definitely going to be in there. Get a number.
I'm going to beat you to it, Simon. I'm going to grab a number 2, mate. I'm going to create a little sub account. It'll be called Cookie Monster or something like that. And I want the winning number because I want the t-shirt from the Van Halen store. I'm
disguising myself as Simon too.
Yeah. No, because we'll do it live, guys. There'll be no what's the word? No controversy if, for example, someone close to the show wins it, because I
wouldn't dream of entering. It's somebody out, somebody proper, not me, should win it. Absolutely, that'd be very bad. Well, all right, guys, we have well done. Under another assumed name. We should say hello to Lloyd Hollybeck. I hope I write your name, Lloyd. That's a new name. I don't recognise you before. So welcome to the show.
Yeah. So if we can get 50 people into that stream, so we've got 2 weeks. Is that correct? That's the next 5150 show. 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I think.
Yeah. 2 weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks. And we're going to go through Van Halen 1.
Yeah.
The monster epic, arguably one of the greatest debut albums of all time.
Arguably.
Well,
so, shall we argue? No, let's not.
I say that about every debut album I love.
And there he is, look, Kurt 5150. Good morning, Kurt. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Rev. Yeah. I was just saying, Kurt, great show yesterday.
Talking about debut albums, this album that we're going to review this week is a pretty solid debut album.
Yes.
Talking of solid debut albums, yes.
Definitely.
Hey, Renus.
The eponymously named. So today, yes, we are talking about this album, Bad Company by Bad Company. Released in 1974. So Bad Company, consisting of 4 musicians, 2 from Free, Paul Rodgers and Simon Kirk, former Mott the Hoople guitarist Mick Ralphs, and ex-King Crimson bass player Boz Burrell. And they were the first band to sign to Swan Song Records, which, if you don't know, was the album set up by the mighty Led Zeppelin to release their stuff. They were the first people to do it. And they enjoyed lots. The first 3 albums were, top 5 hits of here and in America. And big singles: Good Loving Old Bad, Feel Like Making Love, Can't Get, Ready, all those sold a lot of 20 million records, 40 million worldwide. So big band. So they formed really out of the ashes of Free. Paul Kossoff was clearly off on his own, journey into heroin. Not a great place. And Andy Fraser had left Free in '73, and so Simon Kirk and Paul Rodgers sort of hanging around, really waiting for something to happen. So I think Simon Kirk apparently was in Brazil with a lady. Good, nice work if you can get it. It's, but came back to called up Rodgers to find that Rodgers was doing something with a former Mott the Hoople guitarist Mick Ralphs, and so Rodgers asked Kirk if he'd like to join. So they went over and started Bad Company. And then a few months later, they got Boz Burrell to come in, and so contrary to speculation, apparently Singapore Rodgers named the band after a Jeff Bridges film, Bad Company. Rodgers stated in an interview with that the idea came from a book of Victorian morals that showed a picture of an innocent kid looking up at an unsavoury character leaning against a lamppost in a sort of Dickensian way. The caption read, "Beware of Bad Company." It's fantastic. The band, they recorded their album at Headley Grange, which is where Led Zeppelin recorded Led Zeppelin 4, amongst others, using the Ronnie Lane Mobile Studio, which I think lots of people did then. And the album was an immediate hit. #1 on the Billboard charts in the US, #3 in the UK charts. Right. So, right, I remember getting it when it came out, because there was quite a buzz around them. Clearly with Paul Rodgers and Simon Kirk, ex-members of Free, and I'd been a fan of Free, and great band, and so there was quite a buzz around it. It was a bit like a sort of super group. It was kind of thought of as a super group, really. I'm not entirely certain that's true, but had clearly some very well-known names in it, and so there's a lot of buzz around about them. And when it came out, I think they lived up to the hype, didn't they? Or in my world, they did anyway, because I think this album is an excellent record. And listening back to it all these, all those years later, 45 years later, don't whisper it. Just to put it in context, Elvis only had a career of 22 years. Just saying. It's amazing, isn't it? 55 to 77. So
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, 45. So yes, we've all been listening to it this week. I don't know if people in the chat have been checking it out, but good. Oh, look, it's Derek here. Good morning, Derek. How are you doing, Mr. Clacton? Is it right? All is well with the world. So yeah, having done that, so shall we get in? We'll get into the track listings. So side 1 begins with the first single off the album, and opening track, "Can't Get Enough," written by Mick Ralphs when he was still in Mott the Hoople. I don't know if people know about Mott the Hoople. Do you guys know about Mott the Hoople much?
Yep.
Clearly there's the all the young dudes. There's the kind of hits bit, but there's also, because they were on Island and they were on CBS, I think. So they got 2 halves to their career. So this is as I bought this a long time ago. This is like a double CD but it's got all their career stuff on it. So it's got their early stuff on it, which is on Island, which is not so well known. And it's got, it's got the hits like Honolulu Boogie and Golden Age of Rock and Roll, all the dudes all the way from Memphis, on one of those that with their big hits. But he's got their early stuff as well. Check it out; it's really good. They're really good. And yeah, that's your point. Yes. Okay. I just had an idea for another album we could do. So I think Mick Ralphs, he'd written some songs. He also bought we'll get his Moving On as well, which he took to Motley when they didn't want them. clearly not quite getting it, oddly. But so it's the first track on their first album and also the first single, and and you could hear Simon Kirke counting them in 1, 2, 1. That's a statement of intent if ever I heard one. And that massive Mick Ralphs chord as well. I think kind of part of his signature sound, isn't it? That kind of I'm going to hit a chord and I'm going to let it ring, kind of thing. So Simon Kirke said that they were scattered all over Headley Grange and doing their versing. So he was in the basement. Boss Burrett was in the boiler room. And Mick Ralphs and Paul Rodgers were in the main living room where the guitar amps were. So that's why he counted it in. It's basically the only way he could get their attention to start, which is quite fun. So they could do. And the other amazing thing about this record is, of course, that it's Mick Ralphs' guitar is tuned in a very odd way. It's tuned in open C tuning, which is CC, GC, EC, which is why you get that kind of odd bass center. The bottom E string gets tuned down to C, which gives it a much kind of bassier sound. So, and he said it. I mean, he's experimented quite a lot with open tunings. It's one of his things, and he said that it never really sounded right in standard tuning. It needed to have an open C to have that ring. And interestingly, I only ever think of Mick Ralphs as being a Les Paul player, but he apparently used light Ernie Ball strings on a Strat to do this, which is interesting. Doesn't sound Strat-like to me, but anyway, it's apparently that's what it is. It's a tuned down Strat.
Definitely sounds like a Les Paul to me.
Well, yeah, but that's what I've done a couple of interviews where he talks about having this Strat. So it's like, okay, and he seemed to have a one point he had a telly with a humbucker in the middle, between the two telly pickups. So yes, the Dogpa, yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Well, yeah, it's apparently, it's very strange. So apparently he said that when you get in C, it's very high and bright. It's quite an unusually sounding tuning, sprightly and clean. So he uses it a lot for slide, and it gives a really full sound. It just so happened that Moving On and Can't Get suited Paul Rodgers' voice best in C. So rather than use a capo, I tuned my guitar up to the open C, 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 G, C, E, low to high. So you tune your low E down 2 steps to C, tune up the fifth, tune the fifth string up 1.5 steps to C, tune the fourth string up 2.5 steps. I worry about going 2.5 steps. The old string's very tense. It's to G. Tune the third string up to 2.5 steps to C. Tune the A string up 2.5 steps to E. The B up to E, and then tune the first string, the low E, down to C. Makes it, interesting. I don't know, Andrew. I don't know whether you got this as well, but because of that, I kind of felt it had a kind of Stonesy sort of feel to it. That kind of Stones thing that I'd never thought of before. But when I started listening, I thought it's kind of Rolling Stones. You've got that sound that Keith does in an odd way. I don't know whether that's really true, but that's kind of so. So clearly, the counting is and the hit with the drums is a tremendous statement of intent, and that great swaggering, confident open chord that he lets ring, and he does that a lot. That letting it ring, not playing it again, but having the sustain and the volume to and fantastically sounding as well, isn't it? Pretty much. I like the fact that he doesn't overplay the riff and the chords. Just lets it ring out. Fantastic. So it's kind of medium tempo, allowing it to swing. I think it swings. I think Simon Kirk does fantastic drumming on it. And I like also the fact that there's only Johnny Bean, Morning Johnny, that it's got that space, that kind of, he leaves the space for the guitar, and you've actually got a space. It's not hundreds of overdub guitars, and so it gives it a particular, I think gives it that space, gives it a feel and a vibe that I think is really cool. So I noticed, what else did I notice about it? It's got twin harmony guitars in the solo. And I saw some live footage of him, Mick Rouse, and Paul Rodgers playing it together. So Paul Rodgers was playing a solo too, the other bit. I saw a live thing with them doing that. So I think propelling melodic bass playing from Boz Burrell, and it's just a fantastic opening track, and I'm giving it a 10, a 20 out of 10, because it's become an absolute rock classic. It's become a rock classic, and I think it's still, Andrew, as you said, put it in the car, and you get that, and you just still sounds fresh and kind of, really on it, and energetic, and kind of, So I'm giving it 20 out of 10. Brad scores.
Good one, excellent. Well, for me, I mean, I'll just quickly talk about how I first discovered Bad Company. I was touring. I was in a 22-seater bus. I was sitting in the back. I was reading books at the time in the back seat, a lot of autobiographies. And I was reading a Zeppelin autobiography called Stairway to Heaven by Richard Cole, an unauthorized release.
Road manager. Their road manager.
Road manager. And they were talking about the signing of Swan Song and signing bands and Bad Company. So obviously I knew of Paul Rodgers and Free. I'd never really given Free or Bad Company or anything Paul Rodgers had done a chance at that point, because I was too heavily into the things I was in. But that being said, next album I went out to buy was a Bad Company record. Just wanted to have a listen. And this is in the day when you used to go and buy records instead of just looking them up on YouTube or streaming them to have a listen. So I actually just went and bought it just to have a listen to it, and I was completely and utterly blown away. I was like, I totally understood why Peter Grant, their manager, signed them. I knew straight away. I could hear exactly why, because especially the opening track on this, which is what I'm sort of segueing into. This opening track is absolutely what I call a marketing dream for that era, because it covers so many. It's so catchy, it's poppy, it's rocky, it's got everything in it that you want, basically. I mean, from that opening intro, like even just listening to it again, I put the album on after not listening to it for a long time. So I'm going to thank you, Simon, for picking this album straight off the bat, because I haven't listened to this album for maybe 10 years, I reckon. It's been about 10 years, maybe, or at least close to. And that I actually bought this again when they remastered it, because I loved the album so much originally. So they remastered it, and it sounds even better. It's so clear. Everything sounds. It's one of the best remastering jobs I reckon I've heard, to be honest with you. But okay, so enough of my little introductory to Bad Company. I just thought I'd throw that in there because it's a big part of what we do, and I wanted people to understand. Like, I was reading a Led Zeppelin book in a tour bus while I'm on tour with a band, and I discovered Bad Company through a book. So that's when I went and investigated, and I wish that was how it was these days for people discovering new bands, reading about them and then going and discovering them. And, I mean, the blessing with technology, we can quickly look it up these days, which is a amazing thing. But that whole experience of buying something you've never heard but hoping it's good, that's kind of a lost art now. So I thought that was
welcome to my world, Brad.
Yeah.
When I started buying records in the early 70s, the only place you could see, and I've talked about this, the only place you could see stuff was in the music press. You buy the NME, the New Music Express, and you would see, if you were lucky, you would see a picture of a band, right? Or most of the time, you didn't see a picture of the band, so you had a guess. You'd read a review and kind of, might be some pointers about what it sounded like, whatever. And then you go to a record shop and you'd flick through and you'd look at the covers, to see if any covers interested you or whatever, or you recognize any names of people, and then you might listen to it in the shop, in the shops. And we used to have booths, right? We used to have actual, like, you could get two people in it, and it had soundproof, and it had two speakers behind you, and you get the man on the counter, usually a man, to put it on. You go in the booth and listen to it. You listen to the whole side of it, but you listen to it, and that's the way you guessed whether records were any good or not.
Yeah,
because you didn't have no other way of doing it.
I just bought it just on the book's recommendation more so than anything, and then I was totally blown away. So can't get enough. Look, straight off the bat, that was the first song I heard. You can understand. Never heard this band before in my life. I may have heard one or two of the songs on the radio, but it wasn't that familiar with them. So put it on, and I was just like, wow, I love the riff. It's an amazing first song. Like, what a guitar riff. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And the vocals, just absolutely love Paul Rodgers' voice. So straight away, I'm blown away, just going, wow, man, this is like a wall of sound. And there's so much space there. It was amazing. I love the drum sound on this record. I could hear, they weren't trying to copy Zeppelin's sound, but I could hear the influence there in the music. That's why Peter Grant obviously liked them, because they had that thing that Zeppelin had in their own way. They weren't Led Zeppelin or anything like that, but the bass is melodic, stumping along. The outro bass lines are really cool. The guitar solo is very clever. It's a really clever use of harmonies. And like, what can I say? Paul Rodgers is truly amazing. And honestly, the way he sings on this, especially towards the end of the song, it's just like, wow, man, I get goosebumps. I get goosebumps listening to Paul Rodgers sing. Not every singer on the face of this earth does that to me. There's only a handful. And his voice does that to me when he gets that real raspiness going. And my goodness, 20 out of 10 for me, this track. I couldn't give it any less than that. And I'm really keen to hear what Andrew has to say and how you heard about Bad Company as well. Be good, Andrew.
Yeah, look, I think what you guys have outlined regarding the opening tracks, important, and I can't really add much to that other than my experience listening to Bad Company went backwards. It was Straight Shooter that I remember listening to and discovering this album. Probably the mid 1980s, and I remember being blown away. Yes, obviously by Paul Rodgers, by his vocals, but what really got me hooked again, and especially over the last week listening to this album, was the fact that Boz and Simon Kirke, the rhythm section, just play out of their skin. I just, Boz is just, there's something going on there with his bass playing, and I'm going to be talking about this just about on every song, because he's not playing the bass. He's not just playing chords. He's doing something else, and it's something that these English guys were doing really, really well, Simon, at the time. We had John McVie, very good at doing that. John Paul Jones, obviously, doing that. So that connection, that Led Zeppelin connection, that kind of musicianship going on with Led Zeppelin, obviously, has been paralleled by these guys. It's fascinating. It's wonderful to listen to. It's a shame that Boz couldn't continue with the band, but, things happen. But look, I've had a smile on my face all week listening to this CD and through my earpods. It's a fantastic album. This song, it's a staple on classic rock here in New Zealand. It's I hear it all the time, and it never bores me. It's just fantastic. I love it, and it's a 20 out of 10 too. It sets up the whole mood, and we talk about this, don't we, guys? Don't we? The importance of an opening track, and sometimes, we think maybe opening tracks are great, and that's followed by a few duds. There's not too many duds on this album.
No.
Just a point about Bosborough. Bosborough came from King Crimson. I presume everyone knows who King Crimson is. The maverick guitar player Robert Fripp is their leader. He does his own thing very much, and it's a particular thing. But Burrell joined King Crimson as a vocalist, not as a bass player. They already had they'd already lined up Rick Kemp from Family to come play. But apparently he let them down at the last minute. So Fripp and Ian Wallace, the drummer, taught him how to play bass. So clearly you'll get Fripp's unique vision of harmony and whatever, and you'll get a drummer's viewpoint of it as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why they reckon Boz is so good. And fluid and melodic with his bass playing. It's because he was a vocalist, a little bit like Paul McCartney's bass playing. You know how Paul McCartney obviously is a singer in one of the greatest bands in the world, and Paul McCartney has that melody behind his bass line. So that's what they say. I think there's a good argument to that.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. If you've learned something under Robert Fripp, you're probably going to learn it in a slightly different way than if you learned it from most other people, wouldn't you? So yeah. I mean, I clearly think that's probably possibly where he got it. But I agree with you. He does some of his bass playing on this album is just fantastic. The runs and the things, the imagination there, the musicality of it is just brilliant. Did you rate it? Did he give a score? 20 out of 10? 20 out of 10, good.
Gave it a great score, mate.
Yeah, good, cool. Okay, and let's move on to track 2, Rock Steady. I kind of figured that this was quite a contrast to the first track, and if you've got such a strong first track, how do you follow it, in kind of programming terms? So I think this is a great way of doing it. I think it's got a great funky kind of guitar thing down at the beginning, which kind of reminds me of Joe Walsh in the James Gang.
Yeah,
that's another band I'd like to do. Kind of thing that feel wise, and and drums, and it's got a descending bass line in it, really good, and it goes into this kind of funky rock groove that I think is really good, and highlighting with Paul Rodgers singing. Again, we always said it, and I think it's clear he is one of the great vocalists from that era. Absolutely, he's right. That blues rock kind of singing that he does as well, if not better than anyone. I think he's one of the great vocalists from that era. And on this, he really gets into it. I think really great. I like the guitar interludes. And I like the solo. I think it's bluesy, melodic, tasteful, with great feel. I think that's what Ralphs does, doesn't he? He's not Mr. Flash bloke, but what he plays is tasteful, fits, has great feel. And I think it's, in my world, that's worth quite a lot. I don't know if I think it fits. Good morning, Brian Spalding. How you doing? So for me, this is a 9 out of 10. Never a skip, and really good. And I think it, as I say, it contrasts with Can't Get in a really good way. I think so that it stands out and you remember it, and it's something a bit different.
9 out of 10. Well, for me, Rocksteady, I mean, I love that throaty guitar tone. It's in that riff, you know, it was just really evident in that intro of the song. It's got such a cool feel on the drums. Wow. I mean, it's such a cool band. The bass is locked into the drums as well, like Andrew alluded to. It's just it was such a fresh thing to listen to these songs again. And the vocals are outstanding. I love the pre-chorus into the chorus vocals. It just, I don't know, I get goosebumps listening to it. The solo is perfect for the feel of the song, the guitar solo. It's just, you know, the last part of the song highlights Paul Rodgers' amazing. His vocals are just fantastic. You know, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. And I've just got to say, like, Mick Ralphs as a guitarist, wow. I think, you know, Andrew might allude to this, so I don't want to take too much of what we spoke about in the green room, but wow, yeah. Just, in my opinion, he's just the type of guy that plays perfectly for the song. And that's all I'm going to say at this point. Yeah, I'll hand it over to Andrew, but I give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I was wavering on a 9 or a 10 too. So, you know, I'm looking at my notes here. So I'm going to join you guys. It could be a 10. That opening riff is fantastic. It's amazing. And Derek's made a good little point here that I've made a note to, is it, you know, ZZ Top-esque, you know, to it. Is definitely something that I heard 30 years ago, and I'm hearing again this week. I'm not sure what the tuning is. I agree with Simon. I was familiar with the open tuning that Mick was using on a lot of these songs, probably using an open tuning there on this song too, because there's a chug going on. But what's really interesting, Simon, and you mentioned it before about the open tuning that the Stones were using around the same time or a little bit earlier. The Faces were doing that. Ronnie Wood as well, you know, had some open D tunings, and you know, so you know, a lot of those English cats were you know, playing. We're fiddling around with the guitars and trying to get something just a little bit different. So it works on that song too. So yeah, I'm going to join you guys. It's a 9 out of 10, but you know, next week I probably would give it a 10.
It's up there though, isn't it? And as I say, it does a real job, because you know, if you've got Can't Get, what do you do to follow Can't Get? You know, and it's difficult. And I think they really pulled it off. And I think it's, you know me, I always talk about the programming of albums and stuff and the way they work. And I think it's, you know, whoever did this did a proper job. So the third track is Ready for Love. And as I say, this was first recorded by Mott the Hoople on All the Young Dudes. Is it on here? I think it is on here. It's it is. It's got it with a, and it segues into a kind of very atmospheric kind of instrumental piece, which is called After. What's it called? Afterlife? No, Afterlights. It's called. So it kind of feeds into that. It goes into that. So but yeah. So interestingly, they decided to re-record it for here, and it starts off, you know, slow bass, drums, and sort of arpeggio guitar underneath, very kind of high sustaining note going on, which is really cool. And then it comes in with the singing and the piano, which I assume is Mick Ralphs. Although I know Paul Rodgers can play the piano too, but I'm assuming it's Mick Ralphs. May not be, but so the introduction of the piano into the mix adds. It's the first time, you know, track 3, you introduce a new instrument, which I think is really cool. So kind of, and it's got an organ on it as well. So there's kind of 2 new instruments, which I think is, you know, pretty cool thing to do. It uses as the solo instrument in the break the organ, and reinforces the melancholy psychological state expressed in the opening lines. I think, you know, I wrote down, I'm sure we've all felt like this in the past, walking down this rocky road, wondering where my life is leading, rolling on to the bitter end. That's, that's the sort of thing I want to hear in a song. Bit of world weary lyrics. I think that's great. I think that it has a mood, sets a scene, and those lyrics describe it perfectly, really. And so you come in, you've got backing vocals in the pre-chorus. They're quite fond of a pre-chorus, aren't they? Bad Company. And great sounding guitar at the end of the chorus as well. Just those, and then second verse, more of the piano, kind of there's little trills and little going on. Lots of backing vocals, oohs and stuff in the pre-chorus, and then in the second chorus you've got the organ stabs. There's more colour on it, which I think is give it a bit of that, which is good. You can tell they're thinking about what to introduce through the song, and that's really cool. And then it goes a great rollout at the end of the second chorus into the piano interlude, where you've got the piano and then the arpeggiated guitars and the organ as well. Just kind of, again, not wild and crazy, just kind of creating an atmosphere, keeping it within the thing, and then back to a pre-chorus, and then the chorus with the organ and piano, and the ready for love refrain that Paul Rodgers sings, descending chords out of the chorus, and then over that, the woos over that noodling piano, just the cymbals and bass, to the end to fade, which is great. I think it's a great track. I'm giving this a 10. I think it's a tremendous atmosphere. I think it's great lyrics, great feel, and a real understanding of production.
This guy.
What's going on, Derek?
He's
you're peeking over your shoulder.
Wow, water.
Derek.
Yeah.
Spoiling.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh my gosh.
Well done.
Okay. That's very good.
So yeah, that's fantastic. Well done. Oh dear. I'm not saying that though. You can say that in a minute, Andrew. Brad, over to you.
All right. So for me, Ready for Love, it's a really good third song into the record. That's, we talk about the flow of a record. So yeah, great third song in. Has a really sweet vibe happening from the get-go. The power kicks in during the choruses. I'm going to highlight here the vocals are like angelic at times. They're Paul Rodgers just got that sort of crossover between gritty bluesy and into that soulful, and then goes angelic at times, which a lot of singers that I put in the same place, like Chris Cornell, all these sort of guys that I see as being these phenomenal singers, can do really well. That angelic thing that he does is just like goosebump material, which is fantastic. Look, the melody is really cool in the verses and it's catchy. The piano solo is really pretty. I put that, like, it's really pretty and fitting for the song. It's a beautiful song, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. Never a skip.
Yeah, I'm with you guys too. It's a 9 out of 10, and again, Derek is on the money here with that parallel, that vibe that we're getting from Freeze, Fire, and Water, which is always clearly something that Paul Rodgers wants to do. Paul Rodgers always wants to bring it down, doesn't he? It's clear, it's part of his style, part of what he wants to achieve as a vocalist and a performer, and probably smart too, isn't it, guys? When you're doing gigs, giving you an opportunity, where you can have a couple of songs where you can just probably relax a bit. Simon's hit the nail on the head with the pianos and the introduction of other instruments. Shows the versatility of the band. I have no idea who's playing the piano. I couldn't find that information. So,
according to this, Mick Ralphs is the one who's credited. So okay. Mick Ralphs is credited with playing keyboards. Mick Ralphs keyboards on Ready for Love. So he plays the organ and the piano. So hats off to him for that.
Yeah. A smart musician. I'm going to give it a 9 too. And again, I think Mark has thrown a really, really cool comment in here. It's heaviness without muddiness or because it has aspects of that too. So yeah, look, I love the song. Good third song. Good third song. And probably,
I think
might be because I love the album. Yeah, it could even be a 7. It could even be a 7, Simon. But I'm going to give it a 9. Hey, Black Salami.
Oh, but it's fine. Black Salami. Jeff Davison. Good morning. It's yeah. I mean, I think that I read a comment somewhere that I think is quite.
We're getting rated, guys.
Yes. Good morning, KXM Rock, Dog for Nerd Halen. Good morning, Caleb. 7/8.
All right,
how you doing?
Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you guys haven't hit the subscribe button while you're here, can you do that as well? We'd appreciate it. There's no point rating the channel if you're not going to subscribe, guys. Hit that subscribe button.
I bet all these people have subscribed already. 6 strings and 10
if you
fingers.
guys do hit that subscribe button in 2 weeks' time, if you join us live, everybody who's live on the stream when we do the 5150 show, you'll go into the draw. We'll draw live. Everyone will get a number, and you guys can win a Van Halen t-shirt from the Van Halen store. So what else? What else can we do for you guys? Come on.
Come on.
we need the air raid siren. Where's that, Andrew? We need the air raid siren. It's only been raid.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Johnny. Thanks for sending everyone over.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. Chief Security for Nerd Halen.
Just so you guys know, we do have an app that lets us know who's lurking in the background and not subscribing and not commenting. We know that you're there.
Yeah, see that? Subscribe. And also all subscriptions to our channel gets an automatic subscribe back too. We're not one of those channels that solicits subscriptions and doesn't reciprocate that kind gesture.
Yeah, we're getting and truly raid right now. We're just going to call it the JB raid from now on.
Fear my 3-inch.
Majestic.
We're a family show.
That is.
We're a family show.
Family show. Yes. Michael Smith, the captain. Good morning, Michael. How you doing? Hope you're good. Wow, look at that. Lots of people. Thank you very much all for coming and saying hi. It's very cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So what are we up to, guys? We got raided so hard.
We're up to track 4. Yeah, yes, I never put on. We're up to track 4. One thing I was going to say, this is a comment I read about something, and I think it's probably true, that if you're in a band and you've got Paul Rodgers as a singer, you know what you do? You play a bit and you let him get on with it. Filling in that kind of, because he's got a big voice. He's got a tremendous vocal voice. And he, it's one of those things, isn't it? If you've got a great vocalist, let him be a great vocalist. And I think that on this album, they let him be a great vocalist. I don't know, he does it himself, but there's always plenty of space in the tracks for Mr. Rodgers to do some stuff. Fantastic. So anyway, track 4, Don't Let Me Down. Continuing the piano motif. And I think one of the things I would say is that, never mind anything else, they do come up with some good tunes, don't they? Like a good tune, and there's always really good melodies and really good tunes, and I think this album has all good tunes. If nothing else, they're all good. And this, I think, it starts off with a again, kind of drums, piano, and ascending chords, which goes around a couple of times. And then you've got drums, bass, and piano in the verse, backing up Paul. Again, Terry's 3Gs. Good morning, Terry. How you doing? If only we were still in the EU. But anyway, so I think that it's again kind of lots of I got a real kind of with it, in the verses with the backing vocals, quite gospely backing vocals. Again, we've got the two girls singing on this, so that's a kind of new introduction of something a bit different. It's not just Paul Rodgers, and then we go, do that, and then we got sax solo. Mel Collins playing sax solo, and which again, new instrument, different vibe, different feel, which I think is really cool. And then that goes into the guitar solo, which is great soaring guitar solo. Again, tasteful, melodic, all the things that we're already coming to expect. It's funny, isn't it, how you get certain words that you use for a guitarist on an album over and over, whatever it is, and these seem to be kind of the things of tasteful seems to be the word for Mick Ralph's. It's a kind of thing. I think the chorus with the girl singers providing gospelly counterpoint to Paul Rodgers singing, and and great drum playing from Simon Kirk, playing rolls and beats at the end for emphasis on the lines and things. It's fantastic. So again, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. I think it's a great song, and they do fantastically well.
Excellent. Well, for me, Don't Let Me Down, I mean, I'm so used to a Beatles song with the same title. So I'm not going to.
There's hundreds of songs with "Don't Let Me Down" as a title. It's hilarious. If you Google it, it's like, which one do you want?
Well, whenever I hear "Don't Let Me Down," for some reason, I always think of the Beatles. It's hard to get past that. So every time the chorus kicks in, I'm singing it like the Beatles way and not like their way, which kind of takes away from the song for me a little bit, unfortunately.
Does it fit?
No, not quite. But I mean,
no, not really.
when I'm hearing "Don't Let Me Down," I'm hearing "Don't Let Me Down," and I'm hearing that in my head, so it's hard to get past it. Anyway, nice piano vibes on this track. The vocals have like a real soul feel, and like you touched on the BVs, especially in the chorus. Nice little guitar filling out the sound here and there. Nice saxophone solo. And the guitar solo, it's got that real throaty sort of tone to it. It's beautiful. Surprised me when I listened to this song, and obviously the Mott the Hoople tie-in to David Bowie. I hear a lot of David Bowie in this track for some reason, and like the influence of David Bowie there. So call me silly. I don't know. Maybe go revisit it if you if you haven't heard that. You might hear it now that I've mentioned it, but I definitely hear that David Bowie sort of influence there. Maybe it's a Mott the Hoople influence, which is David Bowie influence anyway. So,
yeah.
I gave the track a 7 out of 10 in the flow of the record. It's a great track. Maybe could have marked it better if I could get the Beatles thing out of my head. Maybe, I'm not sure. Give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Cool.
Andrew.
Just want to do a quick shout out to everybody joining us in the raid. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, guys, please do that and join us in 2 weeks' time so that you can go into the draw to win a t-shirt. Would love to have you back here. We'd like to get 50 people into that stream. So, having said that, though, I'm not here to talk about promoting the channel all the time. I love the song. I love the song. The sax solo is, the introduction of the sax is fantastic. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's another arrow in the bow of the band. Adds another, I think what Simon said, another valley to the landscape, or another ridge to that soundscape that bands were so interested in providing back then. And I again, I'm going to echo what Derek's saying in the chat. You know, that creamy blues guitar tone on the solo was superb. And it's probably a good time for us now to talk about the underratedness that Mick has as a guitar player. I think this show needs to make a point out of highlighting Mick as a guitar player. We talk about a lot of other Micks on this show, but this is certainly another Mick we need to introduce and keep focusing on, because his guitar playing on this album is outstanding. It's phenomenal. And I agree. I think the guitar solo is pretty good. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I'm not going to be. Brad, you gave it a 7. I can understand why it would be a 7, but I'm going to give it an 8 because of the guitar solo and that tone. And yeah, pretty good. Those English guys are pretty good.
Yeah, I say I'm giving it an 9 because I like the fact that they're building it, moving it forward, bringing in new instruments and stuff. So, the validity of that, I think, is really cool. And I think their understanding of programming, and remember, this is the end of side 1 team. So, you're kind of looking for, so I think it's the perfect end of side 1 track. And I think
absolutely.
So, yeah. So. Yes, maybe. So and I think it's valid. That, and I think this is one of those albums which is very clear that it's programmed and designed for 2 sides. As we arrive on side 2 for the next track. I think it's that clearly that's what's going on. They've decided how they're going to program it, and so we arrive on side 2, and track 5 is Bad Company by Bad Company, which is apparently Paul Rogers decided the band needed a theme tune, and it ended up being one of Simon Kirk's rare writing credits. So in late '73, there was a Clint Eastwood Western, A Fistful of Dollars. I think he might have been High Plains Drifter, but came out in the second half of that year. And they had the idea about being what they call long riders who rode across the plains in their long coats with Winchesters and holsters and tumbleweeds and all of that. It's a romantic image, and Paul was very much enamored with that picture. And one day, as Bad Company were working out what they were going to be, Simon Kirk went to see Simon Rogers in his cottage in Surrey, and he had a big Yamaha grand piano, and Simon Kirk started playing this E flat minor. Paul Rogers was playing it, and he had this kind of piano phrase and the lines: "Company, always on the run, destinies of the rising sun. Was born with a 6-gun in my hand. Behind the gun, I'll make my final stand." That's what he had. It might not have been much, but Kirk thought that was really cool, and he thought, "Wow, it's not in C major, it's not in G, it's not in one of those everyday chords. E flat minor, great." All guitar players are cheering now, aren't they? E flat minor. This one's an E flat minor. Sharp intake of breath from the left-hand side of the stage. They basically wrote it together, pitched in a line, and helped each other in the middle 8. And basically, it's a sort of spaghetti western set to music. So if you think of it like that, I think that's right. Also, I think there's that kind of, does that kind of gang thing, doesn't it? Bands as outlaws from the Wild West. I think there's definitely that link in there that does it. It's I mean, that's it's been their theme song. That's their theme song. It's E flat. He said E flat is not an easy key for a guitarist. The group tried moving it to E minor. It didn't have the same soul as an E flat. It didn't have the same feel. How many times have you come across that? Where you get a song in a particular key and that's where it works, and then you try moving it about for singing, whatever, isn't it? You know, that's where it's going to be. So Mr. Rouse had to stick with it. It's but you know, clearly it's about the band as well as the thing. So moving into the song itself, it's it has that ominous kind of threatening kind of ascending, playing those 3 ascending chords, and with the kind of cymbal splash as well, just that high note on the guitar again. Ralph's like that, kind of ominous, kind of, you know, and then you know, Paul Rodgers comes in, you know, company always on the run, destiny is rising. So, as I read out earlier, you know, it's kind of that thing about being a band, isn't there? It's that thing about being a band in there. So, and then you get the again that kind of 2 drum hits for emphasis, dan, dan, for the, you know, coming into the chorus, you know, to give it a real, you know, get up, and then you into the chorus, you know, which is, you know, big, thick, chunky chords. Again, that kind of thing about just playing a chord and let it go, not, you know, not too much right hand flicking it, which I think is really cool. You know, again, you know, great solid bass and drums as well, and again, you've got the you know, the rest of the verses continue the theme of the outlaw, and I like the fact that under the 3rd line of the 2nd verse, Mick Rouse plays these kind of string whooshes, just the ones, just to give it a bit of emphasis. And then the guitar does a double hit like the drums did in the first time. He comes back with the guitar doing it this time as a kind of echo of the drums earlier on. And I think the solo, does it have like a univibe thing on it? Leslie effect? Grant, is that what it is?
Well, in my notes, I have put something in there about that. I can't work out exactly what it is, but it's like a univibe in a vibrato mode. So it's not mode.
Yeah. So and then you got a double chorus, and then I notice you at the end you have a tambourine comes in really loud in the middle. Like, ooh, that is a tambourine. And you know, and a really nice, tasteful outro solo from Mick Rouse. So I think this is great. I'm giving this a 10. I think this is a really strong second side opener. As I was saying earlier, that thing about programming, you know, you've got Can't Get as the opener to side 1, and you've got, you're right, Aaron, it is in E flat as well. Proper guitarist's key. But no, that thing about you know, you're really strong starting and thinking about, you know, I was explaining this to somebody yesterday, somebody who's in their early 20s, you know, who hadn't seen records at all. I was showing them a record. It's like really funny. It's like digging out something from prehistory. I went out and said to him, "What's one of these?" He's like, don't know what that is." And so I was explaining to him that, you know, that the way you program albums, and the way, you know, you have to get up physically, turn it over for side 2. You know, it's like, because they're all the streaming generation. They know nothing of these things, and clearly they know nothing of the you know, the way you program albums. You know, clearly this is programmed for 2, as I said earlier, for 2 sides, and this is a great opener for side 2. I think so. It's 10 out of 10 for me. I dare you to skip it, Brad.
Well, yeah, it's a amazing song. For me, it's a self-titled song. You know, the band's called Bad Company. They've got a song called Bad Company. That's pretty badass, really.
Good idea, isn't it? Yeah.
Write a song that's your band title. That's pretty badass to me. All right, so
it only works for some bands, doesn't it? If you think about it, you know.
You know, a lot of artists can't write a song of, you know, I mean, I can't write a song called Brad Cook, can I? It doesn't work, you know.
It's hard work, yes.
I could write a song called Brad Cook.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you could, mate. I'm sure you could. And I reckon it'd be pretty damn funny, too.
Debuting next week, Andrew Walton's original composition called Brad Cook.
Jeez, that'll be a slaggy much, won't it? Jesus, I
That's
can
what I
tell.
call homework.
Oh my god! All right, I've lost total concept and track of where I'm up to. But okay, Bad Company. I'll start again. I'll start again, guys. Bad Company. I love the intro. I love it. Again, piano is highlighted in this song. The bass is really clever there in the background. I've mentioned that for a reason, because it just, for me, it just, that work that's been played is so cool. When the chorus kicks in, I love that guitar tone.
It is brilliant.
Paul Rodgers' voice is just absolutely hypnotic. It's just amazing. I love the solo. I've put here, it's a great effect on the tone. It sounds to me like a univibe pedal in a vibrato mode, because there's usually two modes to a univibe, especially those old ones. Sounds very similar to the vibrato mode to me. I could be wrong. There's no real right or wrong, I guess. But that if I was trying to emulate that solo, I'd probably go to the vibrato mode on a univibe. Mandatory tambourine in there, which is cool. You always got to put a tambourine in there. Just ask the Black Crows; they put it in everything. And tambourine, and great guitar playing in the outro, and it's a really well written song. I gave it 10 out of 10. It's a great song. Andrew.
Oh, look, I love the song. I just think the song is a masterpiece. It's epic. It's up there with Fleetwood Mac's "Closing My Eyes" on "Then Play On." It's that kind of sound that I'm hearing, and I remember having a conversation with a couple of friends, and it was like riding a horse through the desert, and that's the memory, that's the image, that's the mental image I have when I hear that on Fleetwood Mac's album. And when I hear this, and I was listening to Fleetwood Mac and this album around the same time, so again, I just love the ability that these bands have to create these images. And Simon's already said it, so we all knew later on, when you read a bit of information when it becomes available, why the song came about. So Simon's nailed it really well. And, the fact that I'm hearing when I'm 13, 14, 15 or 16, this image of the desert and a horse, and you find out 20 years later that that's exactly,
what it is.
one of the motivating images and themes for the song. It's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. Look, I love the song. It's a masterpiece in my opinion, and I think someone in the chat said it's probably a standout track on the album. I don't know who said it, because since the raid we've had a few people in here, but I agree. It's a standout track, guys, on the album for me. So I'm going to give it a Brad score. It's a 20 out of 10, and never a skip.
No. Yeah, again, I'll go back to that thing about that opening to side 2, where you, in a sense, in a record, in a vinyl record sense, you've gone back to the beginning, haven't you? And you have to have a story for side 2. And
what a story that is.
Yeah. But fantastic. So I'll just make one other point that occurred to me while you were talking, actually. That thing about, clearly they are recording it and mixing it and deciding how it's going to work based on their ears. So they're listening, Now I haven't got it on a screen and thinking, oh, look, there's not much going on or whatever. Actually, I love the fact that it has that space in it, and it's got, there are the odd silence, silences of things fading away, whatever, and I love the fact that it goes loud for the chorus and quiet for the verses and those sorts of things. And they don't, they're listening to it and they don't care, because they're listening to it and it sounds right, rather than looking at it on a screen, which is what you do now. So anyway, just thought I'd make that point. So track 6, "The Way I Choose," which is a Paul Rodgers song. So continuing the kind of outlaw theme of choosing one's own own pass. I think it's got the starts off with the harmonic guitar over the arpeggios, and bass and drums in for a sort of slow, sort of medium paced sort of song. Again, emotional, soulful singing from Paul Rodgers. And clearly this is about giving him the space to sing properly. And as I said earlier, if you've got a band with Paul Rodgers in it, what a good idea is to let him sing, and not try and cloud him out with lots of other stuff. So, verse 2, the organ joins in again. So Mick Ralph's on the organ, and again, that kind of the chorus has a kind of melodic double-tracked vocals I detected, and then we've got the slightly amusing horn section sort of come in slightly wobbly, slightly sort of just woozing into sight kind of thing, which I thought was good. I think that I like the fact that it has, again, they're changing up the instrumentation. Now we've got back to the basic band, but now we've got horn section, which we've not had before. We've had a sax solo, but not a horn section. There's only a couple of guys, but I like the fact that gives it a different feel, a different vibe to the song. I think again, guitar solo over the organ, bass and drums, plenty of space for me. And again, Mick Ralphs pulls it off. With that sort of that style he's got and what we've been talking about, tasteful and melodic, and to the end, scat singing, and then you've got the sax playing with the guitar. The lead lines kind of intermeshing together to fade out. So 8 out of 10 from me, never a skip. It's great. I think it has a sort of surprise element again to it. That you go, when I look at the track listing, you think, because I'm like you, Andrew, I haven't listened to it for a while. I think, I don't remember that. When you play it, you go, oh yeah, that's really good too. So yeah, 8 out of 10 from me.
Yep.
Yeah, the way I choose, my first initial notes were just a mellow, spacey vibe in the intro. Beautiful vocals, absolutely beautiful. Guitar sounds underwater. It's got that sort of underwater filtered sort of sound to it. Pre-chorus is double tracked second time round. I'm hearing, like I said, that water univibe feel on the guitars again, and I do think this time is using like a univibe setting on the chorus effect. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. The bass is following the drums perfectly in this song. I mean, it's the same thing in every song, but it's really highlighted in this one, especially in the pre-chorus. Nice brass use, the brass section. Guitar solo is very melodic. It's perfect for the song, and obviously the nice fade out at the end of the song. So I gave it 8 out of 10, and I love the song. I just rated 8 because that's in context of what my other ratings are. So
yeah. I think that's about right.
Yeah. I need to be careful, and I think we're all on the same page here that we don't want to make it as if this album isn't cool or fantastic or great. But look, I agree with you guys. I've given it an 8 too. And when I heard it over the last over the last week, I know that the Rolling Stones were heavily influenced with the horns, with Bobby and who was the trumpet player? Oh, someone in the chat. Someone in the chat will know. The introduction of horns into the rock and roll band, with especially on Exile on Main Street, which came at in 72. So
Jim Price.
Jim Price, that's it. Jimmy Price. So I'm thinking, maybe there's a rock band there trying to create something that's obviously influenced by one of the greatest bands in the world at that time. 8 out of 10. I can't add any more than what Brad and Simon has added, but I wouldn't skip it. There's no skips on this album.
No.
So
it it has enough in it, doesn't it, to enough of a different vibe, a different thing, different instrumentation to make you not skip it because of that. And I think that's cool.
Chicago.
Oh, with the horn section.
Yeah,
that's Chicago with the horns. Yeah,
that's yeah.
That's a good shout, Dog Bar.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So track 7. Moving on. This is I love this track. This is one of my favorite tracks on at all. Apparently Mick Ralphs had taken this to Mott the Hoople, but it had been rejected.
Yeah.
Why? But it's quite astonishing. It's like, nah. Although Mott the Hoople, what do they do? They turn down Suffragette City and Drive-In Saturday. So possibly not the best judges of somebody else's with turning down Suffragette City. Good work, boys. But that makes me laugh. But so it uses the same C tuning as Can't Get, apparently. Similar thing. And has those, clearly it's about touring, but those big chords that ring out again, Mick Ralphs, doing that sort of big chord thing and just letting them ring. And then you've got the whack whack from Simon Kirke, and then you're into the verse. And for me, I get goosebumps when I hear this. Get up in the morning, and it's just the right tempo, and it's got that zip and that kind of energy and that kind of feel that the opening thing is. I've got to tell you, the chorus is "Moving on, baby. Never seen the dirt in the ground." I always thought it never seemed to touch the ground. I just learned something after 45 years of listening to it. Singing the wrong lyrics as ever, but I love that energy. I love that thing, and I love at the beginning. There's a kind of just at the end of the chorus. There's that little guitar lick that he just does the once, similar to the ending. But and then he's keeping it simple. That's it. Yes, that's the one. I love the whoa at the end, and again, the chorus seems to have different melody singing to the in the third one than he does in the other two. Again, another tasteful guitar solo from Mick Ralphs, really cool, and then ending with chorus and that classic rock and roll ending at the end, which is great. So this is a 10 for me. Never a skip. As I say, whenever I hear it, I get it straight away.
Well, I can understand why you give it a 10. Great opening feel into the song, like the intro. Great feel. Bass playing is outstanding. Great guitar tone. The drums are swinging along. Vocals are fantastic. After listening to the entire record, for some reason, I just felt like this should have been the opening track for the second side of the LP. I don't know why. I just thought
this would Bad Company, though, is it?
Bad Company straight into it. That's what I thought. But anyway, for me, I go with a 9.5 out of 10. And I couldn't give it a 10 just on the ratings of the other songs that I've given. So, but I could give it on a basically it's a 10 out of 10 for me as well. It's never a skip. Great song, Andrew.
Yeah, look, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 because I think, it might explain itself when we talk about the next song. I love the song. I think, and it's an interesting thing, and I'm sorry to keep talking about it, but it's part of the show. Simon's already mentioned it. Track placings on albums, and it's important, and its importance, and the tonal variations that you get from the songs, but also the story that the band wants to tell. That's really, really important. So I love where the song is situated, and I agree with Simon. Why would you turn the song down? Just Yeah. Just a great Bad Company song. Good lessons there for a lot of musicians. I'm glad that Brad mentioned the Boz again, because he's just phenomenal through this whole album. It's just, I love it. I automatically, for some reason, over the last 10 years, as a guitar player, I just love hearing a bass, and it just makes me, and we've spoken about this, guys, too, haven't we? And we even mentioned it with Michael, how important a bass is to a band. I don't think we probably realize that until we sit down and analyze it and think about it and go, okay, what are we going to talk about? What's the standout features of this song that I probably haven't been consciously listening to for a long time? And you sit down and go, wow, that bass is great. The drums are great. The vocals are fantastic. I didn't realize that I've been singing the wrong lyric for 30 bloody years, Yes. So, so good on you, Simon. Good on you for recognizing and bringing that
mine's
up.
Better.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. Texas Jackdaw, thank you for joining us. I'll sub back to you.
Yeah.
Has Texas been in the chat before, guys? I don't. No, forgive me if you have, Texas.
So welcome. Yeah, I don't recognise you either, Texas, but so welcome. Thanks for joining. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah. He seems to know some of the other cats on the chat too, which is
Mark Tanner.
Always a good thing.
Yeah. Cool.
So what did I give that? I gave it a 10 out of 10. Yeah.
Cool. So now we get to the last track on the album, track 8, Seagull, which I think is very much. So this is so I think that what they said about it was every song that we've done has its own story. Seagull was surprisingly written on a beach. Music is about atmosphere. The best way to create the atmosphere is to actually be there. You don't have to imagine it. It's right there. With Seagull, you could see the horizon, and you can include that in the songs. That is what writing songs is about, creating mood and atmosphere. So I think we take that as the sort of background to it. An acoustic song. Funny enough, I kept feeling that the same feel that the initial kind of rundown that Mick Ralph does. I kept thinking, is this going to be Wanted, Dead or Alive? I don't know. Is it going to weird off into Bon Jovi territory there? But this sounded a bit like that. But at the beginning, but I think only because it's that kind of classic rundown from D down sort of that thing.
Richie Sambora ripped them off.
Yeah, give it credit, Richie Sambora. We're saying it now. Nobody's ever played that rundown riff before, of course. So it's so I think that the acoustic opening with that classic rundown from D, it kind of almost has a kind of loop kind of feel to it. I felt like that almost you could sort of loop it, sort of thing. And again, the verse, just two guitars, just seemingly two guitars. I'm pretty sure it is two guitars. One playing just playing the note, just playing a chord once, and then doing a bit more of the runny bit over the top. I noticed in the chorus, the voice gets completely different. I don't know, they put on more reverb, a low more reverb. So it sounds like he's kind of, in sort of really big, changes from a kind of close, intimate thing to kind of wide open as he sings as he flies through the sky, which is kind of, cooler, kind of echoing of the effect of the voice and the production on what he's actually singing, which I thought was really good. Again, the two guitars strumming through the verse. Again, one playing just that single chord like that, and then doing the rundown. And a kind of just a really cool kind of end of album thing. Really, it has a kind of hypnotic feel. I think at the end he's singing "Leave Me to My Sorrow." Just beautiful line, beautifully sung. Really emotionally sung by Paul Rodgers. Really good. And those ascending chords to the end. So it's an 8 out of 10 from me. I think it's a really good album ending. I think it's really cool. Again, it does something different. They haven't done an acoustic song on this album before, so again, it's something new, something different, and I think that's really good. And I like the production on it as well. That voicing. So I'm a 8 out of 10 from me. Never a skip.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a great last song. It's a song that it invokes a lot of thought if you listen to the lyrical content, and I like that in acoustic numbers, especially because acoustic numbers tend to expose a bit of rawness of an artist, I've found. So if you find an artist that writes with acoustic guitars, they're very open, and it kind of brings out a lot of raw experience, or you're getting to know the artist a little bit, exposes them is probably the word I'm trying to find. So very cool acoustic vibes, great vocals. I find the lyrical content puts you in the zone of complete freedom. Like, in other words, like, live in the moment, let go of all the problems that you're holding on to, and fly on. Like that was the whole energy I got from this song after listening to it for a long break away from it. And I found it actually resonated with me a lot with how I'm feeling lately. It's one of those songs that lifts and takes off, and the vocals are heartfelt. Great song. I would have loved to have heard. It's a beautiful song acoustically, but I could hear this song done with really nice stratty sort of guitars and bass and drums as well. Like, that's a song that could lean itself into a stage performance like that. So definitely a great song. But in context to the record, I gave it 8 out of 10. Andrew.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that they finished this song acoustically. When you consider the other albums, guys, that we've checked out and ranked over the last, few months, couple of years, the acoustic song has, always been there somewhere, but generally not the last song on an album. For a lot of albums, it's probably one of the classic songs that kind of ends an album. So if there is a fault with the album, it could be this last song, where it's situated. Could be. And maybe I would have put the song that we've just discussed at Moving On. If there is a fault at the end, just between,
Are you criticising their programming, Mr. Walton?
It's something. It's something that it's an interesting. An interesting song, Simon, to end a bloody great album, a classic album with. So
when you listen to it, you can hear why it sold millions of copies and why it's why they took off in such a way. It's really, to me, really strong and really. And I'd say, can I say, only 8 tracks, well done. It is. It is not made less classic by the fact that it's only 32 minutes long, whatever it is. It's still a great record. I don't care. It's only 30 minutes long. It's still a great record. And if you've got 8 really clear tracks that all fit together and all do what they're supposed to, put out an album with 8 tracks. You don't need 15 tracks and 400 years. I think I'm all for that, as you know. And I do. I think that that one of the things about an album is having 4 or 5 tracks aside is the perfect length. And I think they resisted the temptation to clearly go further and do some other stuff, whatever. 8 really strong tracks, that's enough.
Yeah, and I agree with what Lloyd said in the chat too. I appreciate an acoustic song too. In an album. Even with Bon Jovi's "Wanted Dead or Alive," that fits well, and "Slippery When Wet." So it fits. I'm just really glad that they didn't pull out the mandolin on this song, because
you're not a fan of the mandolin.
I know I love the mandolin, but it would have been a nod to Grant's other band.
Yeah. No, I don't think, because I mean it's produced by Bad Company, so it's produced by them. So clearly they didn't want to. I don't think Paul Rodgers would want to go down that route necessarily. It's not really that kind of folky thing. Doesn't seem to be quite his thing, does it? I mean, Free never did that, did they? So I don't really see him being in that field, really. Much more blues than folk kind of thing.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a special shout out here to Mark, because he's saying, if you knew the talent you had in here tonight. So, Mark, seriously, brother, we are humbled by the presence of you introducing or inviting Texas Jackdaw to the show, and we've put his link in the chat, and Brian has done a special shout out to him. So we'll be checking Texas out. So we appreciate anybody jumping on and joining us, and we'll acknowledge. Yeah, we'll thank you, Mark. Appreciate it, and thank you,
fantastic.
Thank you, Texas, for joining us.
Yeah, it's really cool, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad you find it interesting, which is, us talking about, albums that we've liked from the dim and distant. Yeah. So, that's my sort of final thoughts on it. I think it's a great record. Really stands up. Has its own thing, its own vibe. Has some classic songs on it, and as I say, it has that. I like the sort of the vibe, the feel, the production of it. I think it's good. I think the guitar sound is great. Kind of his own thing, and I think the way Mick Ralphs does play is cool and interesting as well.
It's phenomenal. He has to be negotiated. He has to be studied and appreciated, because it's an album that's put a big smile on my face, Simon, and I just want to echo what Brad said earlier. It's been a joy. It's been a joy listening and digesting this album over the last week. And if we can, help other people in the chat go and renegotiate this album, or anyone who's watching the chat
listen to it
later on, go and renegotiate it. As Brad always says, throw your comments in and your rankings in the chat, even after the show. Derek always goes through and gives us screeds of comments, doesn't he? So it's always a pleasure having him in the chat, sharing his opinions too, because we do go and read them, obviously, because we comment on them. But
that's really good. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. Derek. And I just want to do one special shout out to Brian while he's here. Simon and I are going to organise part 2 of the Brian Spalding special. So Brian's sent an email asking me when we can schedule that, because he's got other things coming up. So in the next couple of days, Brian, I'll be in touch with you, and we'll probably do it probably the same time frame that we did the first one, maybe the weekend coming or the weekend after. But yeah, we'll be in touch, Brian.
Brad, it'd be great if you can come to that, because he's going to talk about songwriting and stuff, and with some examples, and I think that'd be great, because that's what you do too. Let's just say, Brad.
Did I forget to mention Brad? I'm sorry.
Does his own stuff, but most importantly, writes his own songs and records them, and and that's a 10 out of 10 for starters. That's listen, my dad was a composer. I know how difficult. I've been around music. It's really difficult to write songs, produce them, get the ideas. Make it mean something. Make it. Absolutely. It's a creative thing. Is something we should take our hats off to regularly.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Simon. That means a lot. Thank you.
Aside from whether you like it or not, or anything like that, anybody who writes music, does music, it's a 10 out of 10 for me, because it's really difficult. So
yeah, it's
hats off to you for that.
No, thank you. But it'd be lovely to meet Brian. I watched I was lurking in the background last time. I was setting up. I was setting up for a gig and things like that, but I was lurking.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. But yeah, I think if we're going to talk about songwriting with Brian and stuff, and and ideas and all that, it'd be great if because that's what you do.
So we'll organise a time, and and if you guys are subscribed to everyone's Instagram accounts rolling there on the bottom, that will keep you up to date with when we actually decide to go live. That's probably the best bet. Stick to the Instagram accounts. That's probably the best way to. And obviously, if you subscribe to the show, I don't know how does it work when we set up a stream. If you're subscribed, you should get a notification that we're going live in so many days. Is that how it works?
Well, what happens is when you set a YouTube channel link for the show that you're going to do, it will say, it will adjust itself to your time zone to let you know how the date and the time that it's actually scheduled to go live. So I've had a few people message me and comment and things about that, and I'm like, I don't know what time it's going live in New York. I have no idea. So the best thing to do is look at the YouTube link that Andrew creates, and it will tell you the date and time, and then you can set a reminder from that, and it will just remind you an alert when it comes on. That's the best way.
So if you're subbed to the channel, you get that notification too. If you hit the notification button, and subscribe to Brad and Simon's and Kurt and everyone else's Instagram accounts, because you'll get updates there. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but that's a really big important one. If you love what we're doing, please just subscribe and turn your notifications on so you actually know what's happening.
Yeah, because the show with Brian that we're going to plan should be good. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. We like to dig into things on here a bit and kind of, so some of the mechanics and workings out will be really, really, really interesting. I think really cool. Yeah. And
awesome.
Texas Outdoor. Yeah, try out a live stream. It's really cool. Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If we've inspired
thank you, Simon.
I'm pleased. Good.
Thank you, Simon, very much, guys. for giving us this album. One special. We're at the end of the show. Towards the end of the show, Brad, have you got an album for us to do next week?
I have.
Oh, okay, hold on then. Hold on. One special shout out to our dear friend getting treatment, who's in hospital.
Warren.
Warren. When you're not on these shows live with us, we're going to dedicate the shows to you. So all our shows are dedicated to Warren. Get well, bro. Yeah. And we'll see you soon.
Definitely. Yeah. Listen. Yeah. All our sincere warmth, thoughts, and prayers are with you, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope you're all right. Yeah, we are with you, Warren. And we how much you support the show and how much you like it. We understand that, and we're with you, man. Stay strong.
Well.
Oh, wow.
Wait a minute. Excuse me. I'd like to register an official complaint. Is that a British blues album I see before me?
No, but it ties in because I got Andrew's approval.
Yeah, rock and roll. Yeah, you did. I know. I'm joking. It's fine.
It ties in closely with the Peter Green thing, and it also Clapton. The Clapton, the Beano album, and things like that. So this was released in '69. It's probably one of my all-time favorite ZZ Top records, and talk about arguably one of the best debut albums. Well, this is another one.
Yeah. Jeepers.
Excellent.
Absolute cracker album. I'm going to really enjoy listening to this one for a week. But probably just on the quiet. I've been listening to it a lot already. So, I hope you guys can join us in the chat for that one. Would love to hear your thoughts. Billy Gibbons is obviously a massive influence to me, and I'm sure to everyone here that follows the channel would be interested. And obviously doing the 5150 show, we speak a little bit about Van Halen touching in the ZZ Top territory. So, I did allude to this, I think, last week that I was looking at a ZZ Top. I already knew that was what I wanted to do. So I think it's arguably one of the greatest first albums from a band. It's fantastic. If you want some boogie, hard rock, southern rock, blues, it's all there. You can hear the Peter Green, you can hear the Eric Clapton, you can hear the Beano album tones there. Yep. The rollback tone on the Les Paul. It's all there. The growl. And honestly, Billy Gibbons has to be one of the coolest dudes ever. So there you
go. Well, Billy took that Beano album, those British blues guys, and Texified it. And he talks about that openly and honestly, and so there is that connection, obviously, and I'm going to look forward to how we discuss that translation of British Electric Blues through ZZ Top. Check out the documentary that's on
Netflix.
Check it out.
It's really cool.
I've only watched it about 100 times, Andrew. So
only 100.
Quote the whole thing. Can I say I got a brilliant Billy Gibbons story. Comparatively recently, this is from I was watching an interview with a journalist, and he said that he went out for dinner with Billy Gibbons, right? Him and another guy from the room. They went out, and so they went to meet Billy Gibbons in his hotel where he was staying in London. This is in London, and he said, and Billy Gibbons is like, "I know where we're going. I know where we're going. I'm going to take you to this really great restaurant." Right? So they're like, "Wow, where's he going to take us?" So he said they walk down the streets. They walking down Oxford Street. Billy Gibbons dressed as Billy Gibbons. It's like walking down Oxford Street. And he said, "We go to and I don't know if this means anything, but they went to this place called Nando's, right? Now Nando's is a kind of it's a chicken place, basically. It does chicken, in
spicy
various,
chicken.
Peri chicken and chips kind of place, It's a kind of, 10 quid a head kind of thing. Billy Gibbons like, "We going in here. This is really great." So he takes them to Nando's, and he said he does things like he starts taking the orders. He gets a notebook out. Billy Gibbons gets a notebook out because you have to go at the counter and order your stuff, you see. And he starts writing down the order for the table. He goes up to the counter. It's like ordering the stuff. And he said it was amazing. It turned into a kind of 3-hour extravaganza, the Billy Gibbons show in Nando's in central London, with people sending over drinks, coming up for selfies and, pictures and all this kind of stuff. He said, this guy Lloyd said it was just incredible. He said it was just hilarious that we're in this kind of, not, sort of not a sort of restaurant, really. It's just a kind of place to go and eat, really. If you decide to pop out and get something, you go to Nando's for, peri chicken or something, It's one of those places. And there's Billy Gibbons.
Wow.
Causing havoc.
Texas Jack Dora saying that Billy used to hang out at a club in Dallas, Club Dita, and I played there on rotation. He and I jammed a few times. Wow.
Such a gentleman. Yeah.
Well, we've got someone in the chat that's jammed with Billy.
I'm going home now.
Thank you, Mark.
I am hoping.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Yes. Yeah, that's it, Mark. Nando's, Portuguese chicken, that kind of peri chicken thing. Yeah, but it's literally 10. It's 10 quid a head kind of thing. It's not sort of it's not 100 quid a head place or anything like that. It's just a standard restaurant.
Yeah, we got a Nando's here. It's lovely. It's nice. Brilliant. It's really spicy.
Yeah, it's good. No, I'm not saying nothing bad about it at all. No, but it's not a sort of place you'd expect. Mr. Mega Rich rock star to go out and go to Brown, go to some posh Michelin star restaurant, whatever. Nope. Coming in here. That, may I say, is a real person. Never mind I'm Billy Gibbons. We're still going in here.
So Billy, if you're watching this, Billy, or you do watch this later,
Top man.
We'll send you a link. You can jump on and have a chat to us. All right. You can talk about your experience recording the first record. Because honestly, I've seen ZZ Top play, and I walked away and I said, when I grow up, I want to be Billy Gibbons. It was like
when I grow up,
yes. For me. And I must admit, it was only a few years ago. So I'm saying when I grow up, I want to be Billy Gibbons, because I haven't grown up yet. I'm still a fanboy. So yeah.
Texas Jackdaw, this is so cool. It's so cool indeed for us. Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's a highlight. Yeah. What did you guys do in the weekend? We had a cat in the chat that jammed with Billy Gibbons.
Nothing special. Yes. Yeah. No, he does. I've said this before. He does strike me as somebody who will go out and play, doesn't he? He likes it. I've seen YouTube stuff and who would like to just play. He goes out and plays. Hats off to him.
Okay, so if you guys haven't seen the Peter Green tribute concert, I'm going to give you a spoiler. I know that I wouldn't talk about it until you guys, until at least my co-hosts have seen it, but I have to tell you
from yesterday.
I have to tell you the two numbers that Billy does, the way that he plays and the way that he's standing and the way that he delivers and sings, it's effortless. The way and yeah, the way he's playing and the notes just jump out. It's fantastic. One of the highlights of the gig.
I have to say, every single live performance I've ever seen of Billy Gibbons on YouTube or DVD or Blu-ray that I've got, that's how he plays though. He just effortless. There's no effort. I think it was like 5, 6, 7 years ago or whatever, a Blu-ray came out, and it was live in Texas, I think. And man, three-piece power, but ZZ Top was such a phenomenal band, and they still are. Like when they do get back together, they just sound like ZZ Top.
And there's no greater compliment than that, is there? No greater compliment than that. They just sound like ZZ Top.
So, well, how we just spoke about how cool Boz was on this album. Dusty, just
always.
Yeah. We'll deep dive into the record, obviously, but the first record is, one of my favorite Les Paul tones of all time on this record coming up that we're going to do. So, I'm looking forward to doing that, and we're going to dive deep into the tracks. I love their little old band from Texas DVD, documentary that's on Netflix. I love how they describe in depth that first album experience where their manager didn't want them to do any tracking. No double tracking.
Secret.
Stop it.
That's a great story. Save it.
I've been shut down for the boss. I better shut down.
Okay. All right. So the excitement is out of the bag, out of the cage, guys. Go and check out that DVD. And there's a lot of obviously ZZ Top chat going on in the chat. So if you guys want to join us next week and participate with your rankings and discussion on obviously what's becoming clearly a favorite album for a lot of us, we look forward to it. Yeah. Don't talk about that album yet, brother.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh goodness. But so I'm looking forward to that. And guys, as soon as Andrew creates the link, we're going to share it. So get out there, spread it out to all you Billy Gibbons freaks and your ZZ Top freaks. Let's get a good number of people in the chat, and we want to see you guys giving us your stories, like Texas Jackdaw has. Wow, unreal.
Okay, I'll do the link straight away. I'll send the link out so that we can get it out there. So we appreciate it. I'm going to just say one little thing. I know that we've always got something to say, haven't we? Nothing's been dragged on. We're just talking. We're just hanging out and chit-chatting. But thank you, Simon. Yeah. Thank you, Brad. I'll do that link. I'm going to pass it on to my co-hosts to wrap up. Thank you for hanging out with us, guys. Really appreciate it. It's a humbling experience spending some time with you all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's been great. Yeah. And we should say thanks to everyone in the chat. So thanks to the Dog Par, Lloyd, Hollerbeck, Mark Tanner, and Texas Tanner. You see, if you've got tails and you want to come on, you can come on. Just contact Andrew. We're good. We know everyone's got a story, and we'd like to hear them. So Texas Tanner, if you want to have a practice with us before you do your own thing, just contact Andrew, and we could fit you in. It'd be great. We're keen on that. So Deja Voodoo, thanks Deja Voodoo for as ever being here. Brian this morning, look forward to seeing you soon, Brian. Who else have we got? We had the whole gang. Derek, of course, Derek Clapton. Thanks, Derek, for your input and stuff. Really cool as ever. Johnny Bean, thanks Johnny for sending the gang over. Terry's 3Gs as well. Moderator to the stars. That's very cool. Going back quite a long way. It's been lots of chat today. Really good, really interesting chat as well, guys. Fantastic. And Arvin, of course, Mr. Gaunt. Hope you're good, Arvin. All right. And keep us under control. I think that's probably Nerd Halen and Caleb and 7/8. Johnny Bean and who else? Where are they? Aaron Lally as well. Aaron, thanks, Aaron. Jeff Davidson, very cool. God, I have to go back a long way. Yeah, the guys from the nerd from the Johnny Bean raid, Michael Smith, Kevin Cachell, Majestic PB and J Cat, Renus, Fear My 3-inch, David Ennis as well, Linny Lou as well. So thanks all for joining, and hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week for ZZ Top.
Yeah, crank your Les Pauls. Make sure you got your Les Pauls wound up and cranked and ready to go.
Yeah, cool. Lovely. Oh, wrong way.